Okay? To be successful, it has to be relevant. It has to be seen as delivering value. And one of the values of ACSB is that it is recognized around the world as being the highest recognition of a business school. So that is a factor. Sustainability is a little more of a question. Can the school maintain it? And that'll be one of the questions in the process and addressed here later. Has to be credible, and the point there being consistent with the school's identity. And that's a very important component in my perspective about ACSB. And that is ACSB accreditation is primarily based on the mission of the school. So what a school is expected to do to be accredited is influenced by the definition by the school of their respective mission. So we will address that in more detail as we go through, which by definition here allows a differentiation in the marketplace. Two schools can be ACSB accredited in the same community and be recognized as different, both with quality as documented by the ACSB accreditation process, but also recognize that they have different missions. At Rockhurst, we see ourselves as a learning-centered institution. The old expression was teaching. Whereas University of Kansas, which is very close to us, has a doctoral program and defines themselves as a research-based institution. So we're in the similar community, both ACSB accredited, but two different schools with different missions. That's kind of a repeat here. Okay, ACSB. The ACSB's mission statement identifies itself as seeking to advance quality management education worldwide through accreditation and thought leadership. As I said before, it is recognized, at least most of us, as being the global accreditor of business schools. There are other organizations, probably shouldn't mention them, but there are two that are actually headquartered in Overland Park, Kansas. I drive by their headquarters every day. But neither of them have the worldwide recognition. In fact, neither of them has particularly the domestic recognition. We've had a number of schools that were accredited by these others who used that while they were seeking ACSB accreditation. But it's perhaps an issue. We do have some websites. I think these are still current. You can obtain a much more explicit background on the value of accreditation, publications, materials, and we have all sorts of PowerPoints. We have some here today, and I know mine are available. Just give me an email, and I'll send them to you, and I'm sure the panelists here would also do the same. I'm going to talk a little bit about the accreditation process. I have attended the annual meeting for 25 straight years. I'm sorry?
You need a change.
I need a change, okay. But I mention that is because I have been around to see where it has gone through 3 different stages of accreditation, and I think it's worth mentioning. You may recognize this is a few years old, but this was taken in Hong Kong, so I always like to use that. Before 1993, the ACSB was what many of us referred to as input-oriented. It was very much focused on the number of PhDs, how many books in your library. We used to even have to file the salaries and show that our salaries were competitive and comparative as an accredited school. The interesting thing is that, now this is a personal observation, but about this time we had the influence of Jesuit schools. Tom Bausch, among others, many of you may know him, was president of ACSB. And during his rise in and he was not alone, but was significant in that, began the question, were input sufficient? Are we not really interested in the outcomes? And in 93 was the first time that the ACSB changed the perspective to a mission-driven orientation. Prior to 93, no matter what size school, what your mission was, you still had the same requirements for all these input credentials. Per capita, library books, and salaries, and so forth. In 93, we changed it, and I differentiate here between 93 and 2003, where the role of outcomes changed. In the process now, and Rockhurst was accredited in the first year that this process was applied. And so we were, I was told the first school, and certainly among the first, to be accredited under the current system. So mission-driven, and then outcomes-based, documenting that the outcomes, particularly the learning outcomes, which we'll hear more about later, were consistent with the mission. And then the processes documented to show or demonstrate that the qualities demonstrated would continue and in fact improve. So those are the key three elements of ACSB accreditation as seen by me. Mission-driven, doctoral granting institution is expected to do and have different outcomes, different standards, or at least elements of it, than schools that are not research-oriented. And you have to have outcomes to demonstrate you're achieving those things. And then the processes to continue. This is a chart that we developed at Rockhurst to try to give some explanation to how it all fits. It's confusing. I actually thinned this up. It's a little bit. But what I'm trying to point out here is that the mission of the institution is a foundation that influences the expected roles of faculty. Okay? Now, defining the role of the faculty, which is going to be consistent with the nature of the mission, is the qualifications of the faculty. So faculty who are teaching graduate courses are expected to have qualifications that are stronger than those that only teach undergraduate. So there's a linkage there. And there's a linkage in the way resources are allocated, both to the individual and also in how you evaluate the outcomes. So it's a very much an interactive process. The mission defines expectations of the curriculum, of the learning. The mission defines the expectations of the faculty credentials. And the use of resources should be supportive of both. I'm glad to talk about work. This is another chart. I think this is a borrowed from Chief Accreditation Officer recent conference. It also shows how the linkage of the mission to the contributions, research outcomes, to faculty credentials and sufficiency, and how you allocate the faculty. So again, the processes and the requirements are all interrelated, and again, always mission-driven. Alignment with mission brings you to the of heaven. Okay? Overview. On this note, I will now pass it over to Ms. Peacock, who will now go into more specific